A couple of weeks ago I ripped the tomato plants that were growing in this bin here so I could plant the spruce in its new permanent home, and there were a load of green tomatoes clinging onto the fence, so I just snipped the vine and I left them here. Of course all the leaves had died back, but look at this, they've ripened up just fine. The tomatoes in general this year have been fantastic, and the two that I recommend that I've never grown before would be the Sweet Million cherry tomato and the Juliets, which are a bit like a plum tomato or big grape tomato. They've been absolutely superb. And then finally, well, that leaf-killed beefsteak that I planted that I'd nearly given up on has been producing all year. Not that big, but absolutely fantastic. Christmas potatoes. I've never grown Christmas potatoes before, but I've heard a few people talking about them. And Terry King gave me a really good idea when he started growing the minute potatoes to see whether or not he'd get any from them, which he did. So I'm going to try my tiddlers for my Christmas potatoes. Now these ones, a little bit bigger, they're going to go straight in pots. But these ones, we're going to do something else with these. In each of these two pots I'm going to put one tiny white and one tiny red. And then I'm just going to fill them up as normal with spent compost. I've added a little bit of shake and feed to it. And for these, that'll be it. And these super tiny ones, I'm going to start them off in 4-inch pots. And if they sprout, I'll transfer them to a bigger pot. Pretty smart thinking.
What's in bloom? What's in bloom? What's in bloom?
This week in bloom, the Japanese anemone. Autumn blooming anemones are commonly called Japanese anemones, but they're actually native to China. The Japanese, however, have been cultivating them for hundreds of years. Some people call them windflowers, as their flowers like to sway on the breeze. The flowers come in whites, pinks and purples, and they bloom for a long time. These ones have been in bloom since the beginning of August, and I expect them to still be in bloom in the middle of October. Also in bloom this week are the asters. As the late summer perennials start to die back, the asters burst onto the scene, producing masses of flowers in a wide range of colours. It's another flower that attracts the bees, but be careful which type you plant. Some asters, such as the Michaelmas daisies, can be real bullies and can take over the whole garden. I think it's fair to say that the giant onions are not going to get any bigger. There's Kelsays and Ailsa Craigs here, and I've had a lot of fun growing these this year. They've been probably my favourite thing to grow. But it's time to pull them. We'll get a measurement off the largest one, and the smallest one I'm going to leave in the ground and we'll test and see how hardy it is. Of the ones that I grew down the bottom of the garden, I think this is the biggest. I still have two at the top of the garden, which are growing in bins. I'm going to leave them there because we've got a party in a couple of weeks' time. And one thing I've noticed about these big onions is they are talking points. When anybody comes into the garden, they like to talk about the big onions. But this is the biggest one from the bottom end. And if we get the tape measure out, we see how big this is. Oop, let's get it round right round the outside. Now I think we can call that 20 inches. I don't know if you can see that. If not, take my word for it. We'll call that 20 inches. And I'm going to get a weight on it. Feels like it's about 3 pounds. Don't know. I'd like to know how many pounds in total of these onions that I grew, but seeing as I've eaten half of them, I'll never know. Okay. Try and get a weight on that. Ooh. Well, I make that 3 pounds and 13 ounces. I am very, very happy with that. We still got lots of apples. Lots of windfalls too, and these have got spots on them, but I don't care. We're only going to make apple pie. We've pulled most of the apples, but let's make use of what we have. It's been a really good year for the apples. Well, this tree grows 4 different types. It should grow 5 different types, but we've only ever got it to produce 4 different types. And these are the last 2 types. Full of spots and stuff, but they're going to get cut up, like I said. Apple pies. Ah, Mrs. Coleman's apple pie. Ooh. That's going to be absolutely lovely, I know it. And in the oven she goes. That looks wonderful, Mrs. Coleman.
I hope so.
As a matter of interest, when will you be putting it on the windowsill for it to cool down? I'm doing a Eastern Canada versus Western Canada parsnip comparison that we're growing in these tubes or pipes in the garden with Papa, also known as Harold. Now what I've come to realise is that when you're growing parsnips and carrots in pipes, you have no idea how they're doing, and there's no way of really telling. We're going to be pulling these. We've agreed to pull them on the Canadian Thanksgiving weekend, which is about the second weekend in October. And I'm hoping that things don't go belly up, which you'll see in a few weeks' time. Well, the sun is still shining, and there's still a lot to do in the garden. And so, you're going to have to put up with me for a little while yet. I'm not going anywhere. However, right now, I think it's time for a beer. Piper's Pale Ale. Cheers. If you've enjoyed this video, please don't forget to leave a comment, hit the like button or subscribe.